2019 is done and 2020 is well underway. We're already starting to see some trends and changes in how digital marketing platforms are working going into 2020. My name is Reagan Deshawn. I'm a senior digital strategist here at Community Boost Consulting. And today we're going to be talking about some of the top trends on Facebook and Instagram, paid Google, and email marketing that we need to be on the lookout for in 2020. The first platform we're going to talk about today is Facebook and Instagram. This platform has been working so well and everybody's wanting to jump on board. In fact, between 2018 and 2019, over 1 million new advertisers joined the platform, and it's expected that in 2020, we're going to see 1 million more. So it's really important to understand that as competition raises and as there's more people trying to bid for your donors, Facebook can actually charge a little bit more for this, because if you're not willing to pay it, someone else is. The other thing that we have to know is that as there's more competition, it's more important than ever to make sure our creative stands out. What do you need to take away in 2020 when it comes to competition and bidding? We need to keep an eye on our costs. If we see costs raising, we need to go in and we need to refine our audiences. We need to refine our targeting. But at the same time, we need to make sure that, again, our creative stands out. Are we using video? Are we using GIFs? Are we putting it in the right place? Are we still using Newsfeed, or have we adapted to Instagram stories and Facebook stories? Make sure your creative stands out. Make sure that we are optimizing to keep our costs as low as possible. Another thing that we want to talk about with Facebook and Instagram is the fact that platform migration is happening. It's no surprise we're seeing younger demographics leave Facebook, but I think what's really interesting is the fact that they're leaving Facebook, and yes, they're going over to Instagram, which is still owned by Facebook, but they're also leaving and going over to YouTube. So if we have donors or an audience that's really in that young demographic, it is important to ask ourselves, are we placing our ads in the right platforms and in the right areas? But what's even more surprising is the fact that individuals over the age of 65 are migrating towards Facebook. What we think is actually really interesting is that in 2018, individuals in that silent generation, about 26% of that overall population had established an account with Facebook, where just in the last year, that number is over 40%. A huge increase there. And so, again, if your board or your team has come to you when you've pitched Facebook and Instagram before and they say, our donor is a little bit older, they're not on social, that's not an excuse anymore. Definitely something to keep mind of. Let's make sure we're targeting the right demographics in the right areas. The next tip we're going to talk about on Facebook, again, shouldn't come as any surprise, but the main thing to take away is the fact that video is king. Video is king. Doesn't mean that we shouldn't be running ads with images or GIFs, but if we have the ability to create high quality video content, our ads actually have a 400% higher likelihood of both being clicked and converting. Something to keep in mind with video though is, and this is actually a pretty surprising fact for myself as well, is that actually 85% of individuals who are going to watch a Facebook ad video or an Instagram ad video, 85% of those individuals are actually gonna watch that with their sound off. So if your team isn't adding captions to the videos, it's definitely something worth doing. And our last point with Facebook and Instagram that we're going to talk about today is a little visionary, it's a little futuristic, but we want to bring to your attention the fact that Facebook owns one of the largest virtual reality companies out there called Oculus. In 2019 alone, Oculus sold over 1.7 million units, which these are not cheap pieces of technology. Why do we think they're doing this? It shouldn't be a surprise in 24 months if you see a video from us talking about why your nonprofit needs to be running billboard ads in video games. I think they're looking at that future. But at the same time, we're seeing Facebook start to implement some of those capabilities into Facebook and Instagram. If you open Instagram stories and you're looking through, I'm sure you've seen friends or family or coworkers posting videos of them with looking like a celebrity or with some kind of filter on it, right? That's a form of virtual reality called augmented reality. And in 2019, in the last quarter, they actually introduced a beta that allows us to use augmented reality in our advertising. And we're definitely starting to see that roll out more publicly in 2020. It's definitely a little bit more advanced. It may not be for everybody yet. It'll be interesting to see the statistics, but it's definitely a trend to take note of. The next platform trends we're going to talk about, it revolves around paid Google ads. When I say paid Google ads, I don't just mean paid Google search. I also mean paid Google display and actually YouTube as well, right? Google's actually owned YouTube since 2006. So we're gonna talk about some of these trends starting with paid Google search. Paid Google search for nonprofits is no longer reserved just to allow us to bid on things that are above $2. In fact, we're actually seeing incredible success when it comes to paid Google search because of the fact that your impression share is so much higher. Impression share is gonna vary from an account to account basis, but what we typically see on the Google Ad Grant is, let's say we wanna go after someone typing in things to do in San Diego, and for an example, there's 100 people that are searching that on a monthly basis. In a Google Ad Grant account, Google may only show us about 10% of the time, where if we're willing to pay for that, we might be able to show up closer to 60% of the time. Something to take note of is if you are seeing success on certain keywords in a Google Ad Grant account, but we want to accelerate that and see more, a lot of times you can copy that over, put it in a paid account. Yes, we're gonna pay real money, but we should see a very large increase in the number of conversions that are coming through. In the same wheelhouse as paid Google search, we also want to talk about paid Google display ads. It's something that has been around for a really long time. I think there's ebbs and flows with it. There's periods where we think Google Display is working really well, and then it gets really crowded, and then it doesn't work well, and then everybody leaves, and then it starts working well again. And we think in 2020, this is a year where things are gonna be working well. Google Display is typically a platform that we're gonna wanna be using to focus on our remarketing. But what we've seen in 2019, at least, is costs have dropped to the point where it's only costing us a 1/10 of a penny per impression for targeting new individuals. And when it comes to remarketing to people who have already been on our site, it's still less than a penny. If your organization can set aside even as little as $250 to $500 a month to really focus on those individuals who've hit your website, they've looked around, they may have even hit the donate page but haven't given yet, what happens if we can serve these ads to tens of thousands of individuals for just a few $100s? The last thing that we want to talk about in terms of Google Ads is actually going to be YouTube advertising. But the first point I want to bring up here is actually going to apply to all platforms. One thing that has been heavily invested in by Google over the last few years is AI. They're working heavily to ensure that their bidding strategies are using computer algorithms to better understand who is clicking on ads, who is coming to websites and converting, and feeding that back so your ads become more successful over time. And as a byproduct, they've been able to build profiles on individuals to the point now where if you're in a paid Google Ads account and you're using their affinity audiences, we're finding those matches to be just as powerful and as beneficial as what we're seeing over in Facebook and Instagram. Those audiences and those bidding strategies apply to all three platforms, so paid Google search, paid Google display, and YouTube. And that's why, everything in terms of paid Google has started to perform way better and should be just as equally considered as what we would say for Facebook and Instagram. My next point about YouTube is a little bit more YouTube specific, but it comes down to the fact that YouTube is actually the second most visited site online worldwide. The only one that's outperforming it right now is Google. And we talk so much here at Community Boost at marketing where people's attention is at. And guess what? Their attention is on YouTube. We already talked earlier about on Facebook and Instagram, we're seeing younger individuals leave Facebook to go over to Instagram, but actually more of those individuals are daily active users of YouTube. And so whether or not you have a young demographic or even an older demographic, they're there, we wanna be there too. The best news is it's not expensive. One of the trends that we saw in 2019 with YouTube ads was the ability to use what is called skippable in-stream pre-roll ads. What that allows us to do is choose an ad of pretty much any length. Typically is gonna be over 30 seconds, under a minute if possible. And we get to serve that before they're going to watch their video. So if you've ever been on YouTube and you start watching a video, but before it, you're forced to watch 5 seconds, but even after that, if you don't click skip, it continues to run. That is a skippable pre-roll ad. What's really amazing about these, and honestly a little bit unbelievable, is the fact that you're only gonna pay for an individual if they watch over 30 seconds of your ad. Not only are we only paying for highly engaged individuals, but we're getting free brand impressions with tens of thousands of others. And the overall cost still for that 30-second view, a lot of times is under 2 pennies. With as little as even, again, a $500 a month budget, not only can we be, getting around 25,000 people to watch over 30 seconds of our ad, but in addition to that, for every person who watches, we're probably gonna get 2 to 3 additional people to watch under 30 seconds. But it doesn't mean they're not taking away your brand impression and the understanding of your mission. And honestly, for remarketing audiences, getting a free touch point. Something that is definitely growing. It's still early. We do need good video content if we're gonna be there. If we don't have it, it's gonna stick out like a sore thumb. But YouTube is absolutely a trend. I think it's absolutely underpriced. And I think every nonprofit with good video content needs to be testing it in 2020. If you are curious about learning a little bit more about YouTube ads, we're actually recording another video, which you can find right here, that will link you to give you a little bit more information. And then finally, the last platform trend that we're gonna talk about today is gonna be in regards to email marketing. We've already talked about how automation is being leveraged and AI is being leveraged in Facebook and Instagram and in paid Google. This same technology is being utilized in our email marketing as well. A lot of platforms now give us the ability to cater the type of messaging and the frequency of our emails based on user behavior. Your platform now has the ability, most platforms have the ability to, when we send an email, it's gonna start to better understand certain individuals' open rates and the times at which they open, and it'll allow us to deliver them at the perfect time. So email is, yes, it's one of the older platforms that we're talking about, but it's no less effective. The next thing with email to take note of, and it shouldn't come as any surprise because this is the trend on every platform, but more people are opening their emails on mobile than they are on desktop. In fact, it's about 55% of individuals who are opening that on their mobile device. So it is really important. I still get tons of emails that definitely have not been designed for mobile. The whole subject line is cut off. The way that images are formatted and videos are formatted doesn't work. So it's important to keep in mind that your audience likely is on mobile. If we are sending them emails that have subject lines that are unreadable, don't be surprised if they're not gonna open it. Keep that in mind when we're designing your emails. Have it designed with mobile in mind, and I promise you, you're gonna see better open rates. And then finally, along the same lines with the previous point, what we want to take note of is the fact that because users are on mobile, if they open these emails and they are poorly designed, doesn't fit well within their screen, they have to scroll super far to read it, we do see them leave. And in fact, in 70% of cases, if an email is not designed to be mobile friendly, in 70% of cases, that email is going to be deleted. Hopefully that was helpful when it comes to understanding some email trends that are happening in 2020. I think this is a platform that we need to keep a closer eye on just because the capabilities differ so vastly from platform to platform. We have tons of different video content. You can click here, 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 here. I don't know if we can do that, but if you click one of these boys right here, then you can find out a little bit more. So again, what did we talk about today? We talked about some trends on Facebook and Instagram, Google Display, YouTube, and paid search, and email. We hope you found this helpful. This is not the only trends that are coming. We promise you there's gonna be more, but we hope that this is helpful and these are things that you can start to take action on right away. Thank you.